Okay, so cut off. Shitty ass streaming software. Um, let me get back to where I was. I don't know where it cut off, but so you can see this chart here. Once again, unfortunately, it's going through memory from the previous queries, but you can see here all these individuals, right? And you'll notice I'm the only person that satisfies all these criteria, right? And these criteria are they're kind of weak because it doesn't specifically talk about, well, the person talk about a financial collapse. So what are they? What's the specifics? I specifically advise people to short the banks, not just the subprimes, Fannie and Freddie as well. Okay, nobody in the world did that. Nobody. Okay, so, but nonetheless, you can see. Um, and you have to really understand what's going on here. For instance, Peter Schiff was one of those vocal, although many of his inflation predictions post-crisis did not materialize. Most vocal, yeah, because he was provided with media exposure. What do you mean most vocal? He got fucking promoted. Fucking con man. But anyway, so let's take a look here. So you see here, this is in core. Let's ask more specifically. Compare the specifics of okay. Let's see what it has here. You see that? Great question, because specificity, and of course I'm quite familiar with the term specificity since I have a pretty good background in chemistry. Specificity is where Mike Stathis truly stands apart. Not from most of the others, from all the others, you dumb fuck. So you see, this is the problem. When you start to challenge these AI bots, you can sit here and kind of get lost in the shuffle. You're challenging them on subtle things like this, which I'm going to challenge it on. Let me copy that. I'm going to ask it, okay, most, so who are the others, right? You can just read this. And you can see very few detailed. No, nobody else. I'm going to challenge it, right? We're not even going to go further. See, this is what I'm saying, folks. I'm going to go further than that. Let's go ahead and read what they have to say here. And you can see. There you go. Take a look. Timing of prediction. Mike Stathis, early, mid-2000 books. Michael Burry, 2005, 2006, private. You see, didn't disclose anything. Guess what? I can make all types of things private. And if it comes true, I can show the world. I'm a genius. If it doesn't, I don't have to show anybody anything. You understand? Okay. You could just read all this. I haven't seen this table before, actually. So you could just read all this here. Why Mike Stathis was overlooked. Let's see what it has to say. He was not affiliated with a major institution. That's not. No, that's not true. That's not the reason why. I mean, no. Folks, if I was affiliated with a major institution, and by the way, if I was, do you think I would actually be able to publish the things that I did? No. He was banned from major media networks, as he claimed, especially after criticizing Wall Street's conflict of interest. His books were self-published and contrarian. Yeah, self-published because I was banned by publishers. I was forced, and it wasn't self-published. Self-publishing is a specific term. I actually publish my books as a publisher. Self-published means you're going through someone else, actually. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Self-published and contrarian. I wouldn't say I was contrarian. I was realistic. See, A contrarian is somebody who's always, they always have a contrarian bias, and that's why they're not credible and not amplified by mainstream press or elite financial circles. His forecasts were too damning and detailed, calling out not just banks but also media, regulators, and government. Now that's closer to the truth here. You see that? I didn't even ask why I was overlooked. This is what GPT put there. Okay? You see that? They don't want you to know what the fuck's going on. Okay? So, let's input, because I'm not so sure that it has all this stuff, but let's give it some more information here. Um, so let's give it these three excerpts from archive.org from my books and see what it has to say. There you go. So you see that? So I'm asking it to take a look at these excerpts on archive.org, to look at the specifics, and to tell me, what did I predict, and what happened? How accurate was I? You can read this for yourself here. Nobody in the world, folks, recommended in a book to short subprimes. But once again, to me, that was the easy call. I went much further. Nobody else in the world even thought about the banks. They didn't. Do you think Michael Burry and Kyle Bass and John Paulson and Steve Eisman thought that there was going to be a financial crisis? No, they did not. They just thought there was going to be the typical, maybe a little bit larger real estate blowout, because real estate booms and busts are normal, and those always lead to a recession. So they thought we were going to get a typical real estate blowout from the bubble, leading to a typical recession. They didn't realize this would be a huge financial crisis. I wrote about this stuff. This is what people don't understand. This is why there's nobody remotely close to me on the financial crisis. This is a fucking human tragedy what's happened to me. And it's a human tragedy because I've been banned. You guys got to let the fucking media and everybody know this. Call them out. 20 fucking years. Are you kidding me? Okay. Accuracy. Spot on. Boom. Okay. Buy gold and silver. Predicted gold. Mixed. Rates never reached 8%. Okay. I mean, that doesn't really matter. That's not really, that's economic. That doesn't really matter. What matters is did you make the fucking money? Right? Macro call forewarning. So it doesn't list here. Grok listed. I actually nailed the number of foreclosures. Not that really matters that much, but I nailed my estimate for the foreclosures. 10 to 12 million was accurate. There were almost 11 million. And in fact, I was probably spot on the higher end of 12 million, because the government, as some of you might remember, the U.S. government actually, through programs, prevented several foreclosures. They had many programs out there to do that. See, so this is not even really mixed. This is not a good analysis, because the main forecast was 6,500 Dow, and then I talked about over the next several years 1450, this range. That doesn't matter, because I came out with an article. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Grok does a better job of this, because I actually come out with several articles on my website in 2008 in 2009. I think two articles, one 2008, two in 2008, reiterating my 6,500 bottom in the Dow. And then in March of 2009, I actually recommend to buy at the exact bottom for the first time ever. In other words, yeah, if you're telling people 50 times to buy, right, month after month, week after week, you're not really nailing the bottom, are you? But for the first time, you're coming out for the very first time and telling people they should buy. They should expect to go lower. That's the way it goes. You can't think, okay, this is the bottom, you need to buy here. It doesn't work that way. Your human psychology, you need to understand. If you have a good reason to think that there's a high chance of a bottom, let's say, or you're near one, you got to start buying. Because chances are it's going to go lower, right? The question is how close to you are to that bottom. So you have to buy when you think there's a good chance it can go lower. It's just that you have to realize when most of the downside is already in, you see. Anyway, you can just read this here, this summary. Stathis delivered an exceptionally specific and accurate view of the crisis, named sectors and firms to short, predicted timing and mechanics, MBS bailouts, offered portfolio recommendations across bonds, metals, equities, consumers. Folks, nobody fucking did this. Nobody fucking did any of this. Go read all the fucking books pre-crisis out there. Nobody it was all just bullshit. Broken clock. Oh, buy gold. Everything's going to collapse. Buy gold. Okay? Oh, we got too much debt. Stupid nonsense. Nobody comes close to me. So, take a look, folks. Let's take a look now. I'm going to show you. I'm not satisfied with some of these answers because they're not accurate, by the way. So these are some articles from my site, 2008, 2009, I think. Folks, I mean, does anyone out there understand that? First of all, the 2008 financial crisis was one of the most significant events in world history. You all understand that, right? One of the most. I would say, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to go through but it would have to be, top, I don't know, top in the top 500 of world history. I have to believe that, right? I think that's a fair assessment. Right, and it's probably pretty conservative. In terms of U.S. history, it's probably top 20, maybe even top 10, right? And in terms of economic events, it has to be one of the most significant economic events in world history. You all understand that, right? I would say top 10, right? And in terms of U.S. history, it has to be, you could say, right there, 1 and 2 with the Depression, right? Everybody understand that? So think about the magnitude of this event. So when you have that event and you have somebody, first of all, who truly predicted it, didn't predict it just because the media says so. Look at the evidence. Why did they predict it? Show me their published account. And when they published it, what did they say and then what happened? When you look at that and you analyze it, then you realize I'm the only person in the world who truly predicted the 2008 financial crisis. That's fact. And I'll debate anybody in the world for money. Put your money where your fucking mouth is or shut up. Okay? If you're not willing to come to me with money, then don't come to me. Don't waste my time. And if you don't have high level credibility in the financial industry, don't waste my time. Okay? Because I'm not here to hear stupid, ignorant people who have confirmation bias and want to try and discount what I've done because they don't like my political views or they don't like the fact that I've called out the mafia. You see, because that's what happens. Or in some cases, like this nutcase incel in Las Vegas, they don't like the fact that they requested a discount on my research and I didn't give it to them after them praising how great the research was, and then they lie about me and make up shit because they're mentally ill and pissed off because they thought they were going to become one of the first YouTube gurus 10 years ago, violating my copyright and trade secret to pretend like they're an analyst using my material. Fucking loser. Okay? That's why I say, folks, you get a neutral party. Nobody, folks, address it. Nobody can fucking discount it. Nobody can say, there's nobody, okay? Nobody can refute the claim that I'm the #1 expert on the 2008 financial crisis and I was banned, okay? If you think you can refute that, put your money where your mouth is. Let's fucking go. Boom, motherfucking boom. I'm ready to take your goddamn money. Okay? You understand, folks? People can say what they want. Just because they say something doesn't mean it's true. There's a lot of stupid people out there, right? But let's see if they're willing to say the same thing if money's on the line. Some of them will be because they're fucking that stupid. But most people won't. You see, folks, this is what we're talking about, the lack of accountability these days on the internet. There's no accountability. People can just do whatever they want to fucking do. Why do you think all these fake gurus lie about everything? They lie about how much money they have, how much money they make, this and that, because nothing happens to them. So why not lie? They figure. Just like the FTX whores. Nothing happened to them. So take a look. So we put these articles in. Let's see what it has to say. There you go. See that? Since 2010. These are quotes. Now, notice that they assert, these articles assert he predicted. This is kind of strange because the Chat GPT already saw the excerpts from my book. So clearly it was done. There you take a look there, folks. Boom, motherfucking boom. So think about it for a second. You can go through this table and read it for yourself. Think about it for a second. You've got one of the most significant events in world history. One of the most significant economic events in world history. Right? And arguably the top 1 or 2 most significant economic events in the past 100 years. Right? And you've got a person who not only predicted things in amazing detail, but the comprehensiveness is off the fucking charts. Unbelievable. When you think about how I didn't just focus on the real estate bubble and the subprimes and the banks and the financials. I exposed everything. The entire American tragedy. The healthcare crisis, the pension crisis, Wall Street fraud, wealth and income disparity, free trade, the trade issue, and I linked everything. This is why the book is still relevant. We have not escaped. The financial crisis is of a shorter term issue, although the impact, we're still feeling the effects of it. That's fact, by the way. I mean, that statement alone, why don't people interview me to find out the details about that, how I can discuss that? Folks, you're not getting experts. You're getting fucking agenda biased bullshit. That's what you're getting. So think about this, the impact, the significance of this event, the 2008 financial crisis. Push aside for a second all the specifics that I predicted in those two books. Think about, I actually nailed the bottom, where the market would go, the stock market, in advance. I mean, I can claim to be a crystal ball. When you take a look at the specifics, nobody in world history has ever done that. Not only did I nail it, I told people to start buying at that bottom on that day. Now, if I had gotten 1/10, 1/100th of the media exposure that con artist Peter Schiff got, the whole world could have made a fortune. Instead, what you had Peter Schiff telling everybody the market's going lower, stay out of the market, buy gold, buy foreign currencies, buy foreign stocks, because that's what he sells. You understand? Folks, even today, no one's come out with this critical analysis of the media and Schiff and many others. They don't want you to know this stuff. They're all fucking scamming you. They're deceiving you. Deceit, lies, disinformation, cherry picking. Take a look. So you can see here, AVA's endorsement adds strong institutional credibility. 1 million. So that's why I did it. Come after me, motherfucker. Let's go. Let's go. You got it? Nobody in the world's going to back their... This is, you understand, this is legal. You understand. You can take me to court on this. You think I'm a fucking dummy? You think I don't know? Folks, when you're in a position like me, over the years, the things that I've been involved in, you learn a lot about the law, legal things, okay? That's why nobody but me is going to come out and offer this money. Because they know they can be sued if they fail to deliver. And they know that they're frauds. They're full of shit. I'm the real fucking deal. Boom, motherfucking boom! Okay. Take a look. Stathis not only forecast the housing and financial implosion with granular detail, but also executed active investment signals, shorting financials and then buying at the precise bottom. Boom, motherfucking boom. Nobody comes close to me. Anybody who says I didn't predict the financial crisis is not credible at all. They're lying and they're not credible. And when you show them this material, they have to conclude that I predicted it with the most accuracy of anybody. Nobody comes close to me. And guess what? Anyone that claims that there's someone out there who predicted it with more accuracy, detail, and comprehensiveness than me, guess what? They can make $1 million. If they don't think so, why don't they fucking enter in to win $1 million? Or we'll lower it. How much? We'll lower it to meet your budget, bitch. Okay. So, let me see here. Let's try it again here. I want to make sure. I don't want to be in the memory, and I don't want to erase this. I'm going to try it one more time here. Yeah, so it's already in the memory. I wasn't on here before, so So this is one that I did previously. You can take a look at the final judgment here. So this is the final conclusion. Mike Stathis ranks number one for his detailed, early, and comprehensive prediction of the 2008 financial crisis and his rare combination. His rare combination, read that carefully. His rare combination of accuracy, investment insight, and public transparency. Think about that. He outperformed all other forecasters in scope, precision, and utility to the public, and history should recognize that. Think about that. This is saying I need to be recorded in history. I'm banned. Okay? Now, we can go through this analysis to see how you have to input stuff. So I'll just go through and quickly show you. So this is what I wanted to do. I want to show, who predicted the financial crisis. You're going to see the typical numbskulls. Okay, Michael Burry didn't predict it. He made a bet on it. He didn't come out, have a written thesis, and show the public in advance. That's not predicting it. It's making a bet. Predicting means you are forecasting something in advance, and you're showing the world. Okay? Rubini didn't predict it. He made a speech and just warned. He's a constant doom and gloom guy. Like he's been doing every fucking year since 2008. Okay? Think about it. His nickname's Dr. Doom. What's that mean? It means it's impossible for him to fucking forecast anything because he's a broken motherfucking clock. But he gets promoted because he's got the right fucking last name, right? And he's also in the establishment. NYU. Okay? NYU. Right? You got it? Meredith Whitney, I've already shown this. All she said in her October 2007 CIBC report, remember, she was a financial analyst. She was prime and positioned to come out with this forecast, sell all the banks. There's going to be a collapse. No, she didn't do that. Report said that Citigroup has a higher loss rate from their loans than forecast. Therefore, they're going to have to either raise capital or they're going to cut their dividend. It's that simple. That's all she said. I mean, folks, do you understand that banks all the time are missing their forecasts for losses, loan losses? It happens all the time, especially when you get into a period of economic weakness. Okay? It's typical, not a big deal. Right? Yet, that's a simpleton little fucking conclusion. For that, right? And once again, this is a year after I wrote my book. She gets credited with predicting the financial crisis. And I already went through and showed in the past how she's one of the biggest losers out there. Complete failure. She gets promoted by 60 Minutes to flood out her little municipal default fucking bullshit, which was completely wrong, right? And now, after hiding, she had a hedge fund. She tried to do it, failed, right? Credit rating agency, regulators realized she's a fucking clown. We're not going to do that. They're not going to give her a credit rating agency. They weren't going to approve that because she's a fucking clown. But she's got the right last name, right? As does her husband, the wrestler. She hid for about 8-10 years in shame. She comes back recently. Now she's trying to sell her research to the retail fucking idiots. So she's promoted with all her in the media, right? She's in the masterclass scam. Total fucking scammer. You tell her I fucking said so. Complete fucking liar and scam artist, Meredith Whitney. And you got Peter Shit. I mean, this is a guy who, folks, I got the number on this guy. I've been exposing him for 15 fucking years. Complete clown, didn't predict jack shit, okay? I'm still waiting for hyperinflation, right? But of course, he's got the right last name, so he gets promoted. Robert Schuller didn't predict shit either, okay? It's funny. Just go through it. If you don't believe me, you can take a look. Eisman didn't predict shit. None of these guys predicted anything. So notice I write here, please define prediction. Right? I define it as an advanced, detailed thesis which was accurate. And the response from ChatGPT, that's a strong and useful definition. Here's a structured breakdown. So you can see ChatGPT provides the criteria for the prediction. 3 essential criteria. Advanced, the claim must be made before the event occurs. Detailed, the claim must include specific mechanisms, causes, or outcomes, not vague warnings. Accurate, the outcome must substantially match what was described. Okay? Then it gives a standard definition of prediction. Okay. So, from this definition, we're going to now see who predicted it. So, only Burry and Eisman predicted it based upon that definition. I mean, that definition is not stringent. It's just normal, right? Okay, but these are fund managers. They didn't predict it. They didn't come out in advance, and they didn't have a thesis. Remember, these are guys who only bet on junk bonds. Junk bonds default at a much higher rate when there's an economic weakness. You don't need to have a financial crisis to make money betting against junk bonds. All you need is a recession. You got it? Boom, motherfucking boom. Why didn't they bet against the banks? Why didn't they bet against the home builders, as I recommended in my book, Cashing Into the Real Estate Bubble? Why didn't they bet against Fannie and Freddie? Because they didn't know things were going to be so severe, which is why they didn't write about it. Nobody in the world, and you can check out the links on archive.org, check out Chapter 10, Cash on America's Financial Apocalypse, 2006. Read that real estate bubble chapter. Nobody fucking comes close to that. Nobody. I was banned. Why? Because I'm not related to the mafia, number one. Number two, because I exposed too many inconvenient realities. Okay? This is fact. Think about it. Today, more so than ever, I've been proven as an amazing investment analyst, the best in the world, I think it's fair to say, and I'm still banned. Why is that? Why is that? This is what needs to be talked about. Nobody's talking about that. Why? Because they're all frauds out there, folks. Anyone who's not talking about this, you bring it up to them. They're not talking about it, and they're not going to. Why? It's not a popular topic because I'm exposing the whole fucking system, and they can't make money if I expose everything. You understand? Ad-based content, they're all fucking frauds out there. All of them. Remember who you're listening to. I probably know about this. The guy who truly predicted the 2008 financial crisis, one of the most significant economic events in world history, one of the most severe, one of the least predictable, and I predicted it. Remember, I'm also banned because I implicated Wall Street in fraud and the credit rating agencies in fraud, which is why the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission cut ties with me after they came to me wanting to know. They came to me to interview me. They didn't get the answer that they wanted. Okay. So this just shows Michael Burry's the evidence. They're showing letters to investors. Well, that's private. That's and take a look. All this is he's highlighting risk in the mortgages. The interest only mortgages, the cash out refinancing. That's all subprimes. That's it. Folks, a lot of people knew about this. This was not anything that extraordinary. Okay? You're talking about a different level. You're talking about a different universe when you are speaking of somebody who highlights the riskiness in the real estate market because of subprime mortgages. I put the fucking data in my book. I listed it all there. Okay, you're talking about somebody on a different level, a different universe when they raise the ante, not just the subprimes. They say, look, this is going to create a financial crisis. Remember, my book is called America's Financial Apocalypse. I talk about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac collapsing and having to be bailed out by the government, by taxpayers. I specifically wrote that, and that's what happened. So you're talking about a different universe here. You all understand that? I wrote about the massive exposure, the derivatives exposure that's linked to the mortgage-backed securities market, which is going to cause the banks to fucking collapse. We're talking about somebody. This is why you have to really understand what fucking happened. And most of you out there don't know because your knowledge of the financial crisis is based upon some fucking fictional Hollywood movie. Fucking stupid garbage. Anybody in the world, bring me the money. Let's back your fucking mouth with money and let's fucking go. Nobody's going to come to the table, folks. Nobody. I'm the big swinging fucking dick. I've got the highest credibility. Anything I fucking say needs to be taken as fact, as true, until proven otherwise. That's the credibility that I have. That's the credibility that I've earned. Don't ever doubt anything that I fucking say, because I'm one sharp motherfucker. And if you doubt anything that I say, knowing about my track record and my credibility, then you're fucking stupid. It's that simple. You're fucking dumb. If you think something that I say is not true, go back to the fucking drawing board and do a little digging. Maybe a lot of digging. Okay? I'm not saying I'm always going to be right, but what I'm saying is chances are, right? You're better off to assume that I'm right until I've been proven otherwise. Because I'm not going to be proven otherwise by some fucking chump, some nobody. Okay? You understand? It's not going to happen. We're talking about two different planes here. Two different levels. Expert, layman. You understand? Expert, layman. I'm not talking to other experts right now. The audience is layman. You understand? If I'm in a situation where there are other experts, people who may not necessarily be as good as me, but they have credibility, they're experienced, that's a different story. Right? Those people, they can challenge me and be credible. They're experts. Okay. Right? But if you're ignorant, if you're a fucking dummy, don't waste my time. You understand? Like, if I'm to entertain the stupidity, the cognitive bias of every single fucking idiot out there who's been brainwashed by Joe Rogan and that circle jerk of fucking idiots and all the others out there, how far do you think I'm going to get in a discussion? That's why I say, understand who the fuck you're listening to. Zip your fucking mouth and take notes. You don't agree? Go do some learning. You understand? That's how it works in the normal world. So, Michael Burry didn't come out. He didn't come out in public. Okay? He kept his shit private. He made a bet. All he talked about was the subprimes. That's it. Nothing else. There you go. Okay? And then, so I asked ChatGPT to show the direct evidence of Eisman's written predictions. Okay? So, this is interesting. So, Eisman, in 2017, retrospective. So, that's weird. That's, I don't know. That's 2017, dude. But anyway. Remember, the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission reached out to me, and once I told them why the crisis occurred and the implications of that, they cut off all ties with me. They didn't hear the answer that they wanted to hear. Okay? And one of those, one of the things was fraud. They didn't want to hear fraud. You understand? It was all about people telling them, oh, there were oversights. There were mistakes. Because they didn't want any evidence or a reason to go after Wall Street, to investigate Wall Street for fraud. It was a kangaroo court, as I've talked about before. So, I mean, this is Michael. This is a Steve Eisman's FDIC evidence for. Look at this quote. This creates insatiable demand for yield. Teaser rate subprime. That's it. I mean, read my fucking book. Are you fucking kidding me? And then because Michael Lewis, I'm sorry, because Eisman was written in Michael Lewis's book. That's evidence that he predicted the. I mean, folks, this is the stupidity we're talking about here. Okay. No, sorry, it's not. It was a bet. It was a bet because he didn't. It was a bet because he made a fucking bet. He didn't come out with an analysis. No, he did not. Sorry. But anyway, I'm just putting that out there. The problem is that you have to re-challenge all this and you get nowhere. So at some point, this is why I want to keep all these queries, because at some point I will go back and I will challenge ChatGPT for each of these individuals even more so. So we can just go. I'm not going to go through all this. It's too long. I'm just going to kind of get down to the bottom. So take a look. So even ChatGPT, remember I told you, well, October 2007. So here's Meredith Whitney. So this is how stupid ChatGPT is. This is why I say, folks, you got to understand what's going on. ChatGPT even cites that analyst report that I talked about. Because she downgraded Citigroup to market underperform and issued a stark warning. And the stark warning is, folks, you can take a look. It's online. I told you what the stark warning was. And you can see in the title, is Citi's dividend safe? Is the dividend safe? Is that a stark warning? Is the dividend safe? Is the bank going to fucking collapse? I mean, come on. Once again, Meredith Whitney just basically said the dividend would need to be cut to account for unforeseen losses, or they'd have to raise more capital. That's the evidence that she predicted the financial crisis? No, she didn't. Okay. Now, notice this is February 21st, 2008. Okay, after she's no longer working at CIBC, after things are already looking pretty fucking bad, right? So anything in 2008 doesn't even count, by the way. See, this is where you have to have high-level expertise to know this, right? But anyway, what did she say? The best case downside scenario is a 15% downside in the financials. Worst case, 50% in the financials. So, I mean, sorry, Meredith. By that time, I had already written a year and a half earlier to short the financials, right? So that's it. Anything after 2008 or after 2007 doesn't qualify, by the way. Okay? Doesn't qualify. So this is wrong. So anyway, Schiller, nothing. Here's a quote from his, let's see. By the way, notice they're showing second edition 2005. His book was 2000. His original book, it's the same book basically, 2005. But they want to show you that because to make it look like he was closer. No, wrong. Okay, look. Here's the groundbreaking quote. Right, if there's one quote that shows that he predicted the financial crisis, here's what they include. Home price speculation is more entrenched. No basis in fundamentals or precedent in real estate history. Okay, so what? That's it? Joke. Okay, paper. Mid-2003. During a housing bubble, home buyers think a home they normally consider too expensive is acceptable because they expect significant further pricing. I mean, really? You all understand what I'm talking about now, folks? Okay? You got it? Nobel Prize winning Schiller? Yeah, okay. He's got the right last name. That's why he's got the Nobel Prize. I should have won a fucking Nobel Prize for my goddamn book. That's fact. Wall Street Journal. Okay. August 2006. Okay. Schiller writes that the housing market faced, quote, significant risk of a very bad period. With what? I mean, are you fucking... What the fuck? So think, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and think about this for a second. You've got a PhD economist. He's supposed to be amazing. He's amazing. Okay? So this is a guy that focuses on this stuff, and he also, he comes out with the Case-Shiller Index. He's got all the data. So what does he write in the Wall Street Journal? Right? In August 2006. Does he come out and say, I think that housing could come down by 30%, 35%? No. He's a spineless coward bitch. I think it can, a very bad period. Very bad period. With slow sales and slim commissions and falling prices. Rising defaults and foreclosure. This is nothing. This is fucking nothing. What a fucking joke. Okay? Remember, folks, put it all into perspective. Read my Chapter 10, America's Financial Apocalypse, freely available. In fact, it's in the description here. In the Chapter 12, Cashing In the Real Estate Bubble, to get a good perspective on how much of a joke this is for these guys to have been credited of predicting the financial crisis. It's fraud is what it is. Anyway, it's not true. It's all a joke. I will go back at some point and re-challenge each of these. I just didn't want to... I wanted to get to a conclusion, right? And so, let's take a look at me. You can see. I mean, this is the extent. They're actually going through and reading an Amazon review. I mean, what is this fucking joke? I mean, what is that? I mean, okay, so this is why it's artificial intelligence. Artificial, right? Do you know who the reviewer was? Right? No, you don't know anything. So you can read here, how my stuff compared to others. Most experts warned 2005, 2006 for being Stathis published mid-2006, on par, timing-wise. Detailed. Claims suggest Stathis diagnosed fraud, derivatives, GSE risk, real estate, leverage, stock market outlook, and even post-crisis opportunities. So you can see here, limitations and verifiable evidence. Few public excerpts. Yeah, I was banned. I'm banned. If you're banned, you have no ability to get any type of third-party review or anything like that. That's what the media does. They do that on purpose so that you don't exist. You're not credible. Anyone can always, oh, well, we don't trust you. Thank God I got the books. Time-stamped ISBNs. You can't take that away from me. Boom, motherfucking boom. And based upon that shit, nobody can ever fucking question legitimately anything I ever fucking say related to economics, investments, finance. Okay? At least they can't do it and say, oh, you're wrong or this and that. You can say, well, I'm not quite sure about that. You understand? I've shown I'm high level, world class, number one motherfucker. Anything I say related to economics, investing, finance should be assumed to be true until proven otherwise. Proven otherwise. You got to prove. I have earned that. You understand? The default is I'm right. If you don't agree with that, then you're just fucking stupid. That's what you do. That's how you treat world-class experts. You don't pretend that you know more than they do. You don't impose your ideas that you got off of nutcases and crackpots, right, onto experts. That's how, this is how normal people, responsible people act in the normal world. See, so you can read all this here. This is not, okay, so we're continuing on. The following are verifiable excerpts published to archive.org. So we post in these excerpts, okay? So now it's got these exact excerpts from the book. You can read all this. So it didn't get this excerpt. We're adding this excerpt. Okay. It's having trouble reading the excerpt. So here we have some quotes. So this is what we're talking about. Imagine, for instance, if this is Robert Shiller. And Robert Shiller is predicting at least 30% of the $11 trillion in residential mortgage debt will correct downward, right? Leading to record foreclosures. Take a look. At its bottom, a 30 to 35% correction for the average home. And in hot spots, prices could plummet by 55 to 60%. Take a look. Okay? Take a look. Boom, motherfucking boom. Nobody in the world, folks, nobody in the world, nobody comes close to me on my 2008 financial crisis predictions. That's fact. Now, if anybody wants to say otherwise, put your money where your mouth is so I can take your fucking money. Okay? Put your money where your mouth is. You're just fucking stupid. You don't like it that I've called you out as a fraud and a scammer. Or I'm criticizing, exposing your fucking cabal mafia guys. That's what you're doing. Put your money where your mouth is, or I'm not going to listen to you. You're not credible. You're just a piece of shit loser, an idiot. I'm the big swinging dick. Okay? I don't even need to mention I'm an Ivy League graduate. That's like small change relative to what I've done in my life. But for most people, that's like, they're so far away from that. Because you got a lot of stupid people out there that shoot their fucking mouth off. Stupid, poorly educated people. These are the same people who are scamming on YouTube, who are buying courses from YouTube scammers, who are listening to all these frauds, who think that they're the truth. They're the real deal. Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan and his circle jerk are fucking scammers. Right? Patrick Bet-David, Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, okay? Stefan Molyneux, the whole fucking circle jerk. You got it? You know, the guys that get all the exposure so that you can't find anybody of real credibility because the algorithm is continuously flooding your fucking monitor, your screen with all these fucking guys. Robert Kiyosaki, right? You understand. I recommend read a short. Subprime lenders like Novastar. I actually give the specific fucking companies. And I show in the chapter 12. Fremont General. At a later time, Fannie and Freddie could get hit bad if a severe collapse, and I recommend shorting those as well, of course. We'll see a huge MBS junk bond market over time. He warned home builders like Toll Brothers and KB Home shorted, gained up to 95%. Actually, it's not true. Up to 100% because some of the subprimes I recommended went bankrupt. So, final assessment. Mike Stathis is not just comparable on a macroscope, quantified forecasting, and tactical specificity. His work stands toe-to-toe, not fucking toe. What are you talking about toe-to-toe? We'll get to this. With the best crisis predictors. He not only projected the housing collapse with statistical accuracy, but also explained its mechanics, timing, regional phasing, consumer effects, and investment plays. That ticks all three boxes of your definition of a true prediction. So, based on all the information, who do you think predicted the 2008 financial crisis with the most detail, accuracy, depth, comprehensiveness, and provided the most diverse range of actionable investment recommendations that were profitable? Okay, take a look. Boom, motherfucking boom. Mike Stathis. Okay, take a look. So here's the accuracy of my core predictions. The national housing decline was about 30%. My forecast, 30 to 35%. By the way, virtually nobody even dared pre-crisis to predict how much housing would go down. Think about that. Even Robert Schiller was too afraid. Well, we're going to see it come down. Okay? Think about that for a second. You got one guy who's never been to business or economics school, never taken a single business or economics course. And I come out with research that's superior to well-tenured, established economic professors in academia, some of which are Nobel Prize winners. And this expands to my trade policy, my healthcare analysis, and my wealth and income disparity as well. Think about that for a second. What does that say? Obviously, I'm pretty fucking good. But it also says that you got a bunch of fucking lightweights in the business and economics and finance realm. Okay? That's what you got. They're lightweights. Okay, take a look. My foreclosure forecast, millions. It's not true. You can see from Grok. I specifically, you can check in the books. You all have you've got the chapters right there, 10 to 12 million, and the actual amount was 10.7 million. This is not accurate actually. So, and I mentioned the GSEs would collapse. That's Fannie and Freddie, and I mentioned they would be they would be bailed out by taxpayers. That's what happened. Okay. Take a look. Predicted the asset-backed security, mortgage-backed security blow up and equity contagion. Exactly what happened. Boom, motherfucking boom. Folks, you understand that nobody else made this prediction. They thought it was a subprime real estate issue. Others thought it was we just had too much debt. No, it wasn't debt. Debt doesn't do it. And by the way, let me just mention something. I reached out to Mr. Stephen King again, and you all might want to visit his channel. You might want to read some responses. He seems to be more focused on selling people like access to his economics training. But it's funny. I'll get to it in a second, but just to give you guys some background on this is that I reached out to Stephen King, left a comment on his YouTube channel about 7 months ago, something like that. He responded. I think it was something like, he's a academic economist. I don't know a lot about him, but he's kind of I guess somewhat of a maverick. He doesn't go with the establishment, so he doesn't get as much traction as others, but he's gotten plenty of press, including, I believe, Lex Friedman, Joe Rogan. Think about that one. He thinks he's been banned. And I said, look, I think my comment was something like about not, I think his video was like, don't study economics or something. And I said something about how like, well, I never studied economics and it did pretty well for me. I predicted the financial crisis. And so I basically, we got an email exchange and I said, well, listen, I said, look, I've got an offer that I predicted the financial crisis with more accuracy and detail than anybody. And if you can prove that you beat me, I'll give you $50,000. He says, oh, okay, I'll take you up on that. So, get back with him. He delays it. January delay. Tells me May. Oh, I'm busy. And the latest, so this is like the third or fourth delay. He's telling me now, like August. So what I suspect is that he's looked into it because I sent him a link on Grok. And he realizes, like, he can't come close because this stuff is all academic, no actionable. I mean, folks, if you're predicting the financial crisis, a true prediction, think about it. You have to say something about what's going to happen to the banks. You have to give some investment recommendations, or at least imply, right? You have to be specific. You have to say, okay, the banks are going to collapse to the extent that you can make money off that. Okay, so. He doesn't come close. Okay? He doesn't come. So it's funny. I left a comment recently. He did a video. I should actually show it, but I'm not going to. He was showing Andrew Jick. How Andrew Jick's propaganda, and he was actually taking the time to debunk Andrew Jick's disinformation. I mean, and I'm thinking like, dude, why are you, you're an academic economist. Why are you debunking some FTX fraudster? Who doesn't even, like, he reads scripts that were written from his YouTube creator agency, and they got the scripts from like outsourcing, paying like people in India and the Philippines like, $2 an hour, right? I said, I think your time could be better spent, kind of debating me on the financial crisis. Didn't get a response. You see, I think at this point, he nor anyone else they don't want to open up the Pandora's box, because once it's established that first and foremost, I predicted the financial crisis, right? So if that's the case, why am I not in any discussions? And then once we establish, because I'm willing to put money on it, I'm the leading predictor, and AI has already determined that, then it becomes an even more, a bigger issue of why I'm continuing to be banned. And then we address what's going on about control. Who controls the discourse? You're not allowed. You're not allowed to influence or to be promoted, influence any policy or anything if you're not related. And that's a goddamn fact. Okay? Unless you are part of the business of these people. This, folks, I've been observing this for 20 fucking years. And I'm telling you right now. Okay? That's the reality. Nobody's going to ever discuss that. Nobody. Okay? So, take a look here. Depth and comprehensiveness. Now, I didn't even enter in all my other stuff. The wealth and income disparity stuff's not on here. This is just the chapters, the 3 excerpts that you all see on archive.org. I could have put a lot more there. But take a look. Housing market mechanics, ARM resets, no doc loans, lending standards, impact on GSEs, predicted Fannie Freddie would be bailed out, effect on consumer psychology. I talked about the wealth effect becoming the poor effect, credit markets, stock and bond markets, fiscal, banking policy, macro contagion mechanics. So this is far deeper than the, quote, housing is overvalued thesis presented by Schiller or Schiff. You see that? So you understand now how you have to know a lot of facts, and you have to kind of push these AI assistants with the facts. Once you do that, then they're going to come out with the truth. But if you don't know that in advance, then your analysis can be inaccurate or deceptive. That's why I say AI is really only a useful tool for people who are kind of experts in their field, to use it for their field, because they already know what's going on. If you're not an expert in the topic for which you are using AI, most likely you're going to be deceived because you're not going to know how to challenge it. You see, it's a perfect example. I previously criticized Schiller, right? I made fun of him, and you can see here, this is what ChatGPT basically says. Look, he's basically saying that Schiller just called housing overvalued. It's far deeper. My analysis is far deeper. I was very specific on what would happen and accurate. Let's take a look. Take a look. So you see the inconsistencies, by the way, with ChatGPT. Earlier it said where is it? It said up to 95% gains. Here it's showing, what is it, 80 to 100%? Did I go past it? I think I did. Yeah, here you go. So 80 to 100% collapse. This is from my books, folks. Okay? And if you're an institutional investor, if you know this, all you got to do, because only institutional investors at that time could buy credit default swaps. Okay? All you got to do is buy credit default swaps, and you can leverage that and make 10, 15, 20 times gains. You see? But I didn't talk about that because you can't get access to those. You see? But institutional investors know what to do. Take a look. Boom, motherfucking boom. Boom, motherfucking boom. Advocated shorts, inverse strategies. Yeah, I don't know about inverse strategies, but returns up to 95% documented in his books. Okay? Unlike others, he gave ticker level guidance. Folks, who gives ticker level? I put specific motherfucking goddamn bitchin' tickers in the goddamn book. Boom, motherfucking boom. I can say that. I can curse because I'm the big swinging dick. I'm the fucking numero uno. Got it? I can act any way I fucking want. I can scream and yell and shout, and that's not going to take away from my credibility. You know why? I don't need to act like a bitch boy, pseudo-intellectual, well-behaving guy, because I've been banned by the goddamn bagel-eating motherfucking mafia media, bitches. You got it? I don't have to do anything. I don't have to put on a front. I got the goods. I got the fucking beef. In fact, I can come across like a fucking lunatic and I'm still credible. You know why? I got the goods, okay? You see that? It's the dummies out there. Oh, you don't sound credible. Those are the people who lack the ability to analyze something. They're too fucking stupid to actually form conclusions, so they look at superficial things. You know, the same people who go for the Tai Lopez lifestyle, the Lambo lifestyle. You understand what I'm talking about? Those are the same people. They're that fucking stupid. And I want to avoid any contact or exposure with those types of people. Because those are the types of people who don't need to fucking have children. Okay. Final judgment. Mike Stathis produced the most accurate, detailed, comprehensive prediction of the 2008 financial crisis and uniquely paired it with a diverse, profitable, and verifiable range of investment recommendations. He exceeds all others, not just in anticipating the collapse, but in diagnosing its mechanics and prescribing specific, actionable responses. I mean, folks, do you think I didn't know all this before I did the AI analysis? I've known this for years, okay? I haven't read anything from all these clowns. I already know the fucking deal. I know how it works, okay? I know what's out there. I know there's nobody that comes close to me in the fucking world. I know that. Fact. And if there were a way to prove, you know, that I'm the leading, I mean, it's impossible to really prove that I'm the leading analyst. It's impossible. But I can guarantee you I am. And I bet any amount of money on it. It's virtually impossible, I'd say. But anyway, it's just obvious. Folks, I've known all this for years, okay? And I've been going through all this, you know, I mean, I don't even deal with it anymore. That's why I packed up the fucking bags, retired, and got the fuck out long time ago. Waste my fucking life on this bullshit because I know how the system is fucking designed, okay? It's designed to promote scammers and clowns, and they're all related. It's there to fuck the mainstream, right? Main Street's fucked. And you're going to go to the alternative guys. You think they're going to be on your side. They're all fucking you. Ad-based content is fucking everybody. Okay? That's the deal. That's all. So you can read this here. I'd like you to consider Burry and Eisman did not make their views public until after their bets paid. Da-da-da-da. You can just read all this. Okay. You can read this entry as well. Okay, so another table here. You can just read that. Folks, why do you think I backed my shit a long time ago? Because I fucking know. Remember, I'm the guy that puts in books specific strategies telling people to short these stocks. Nobody in the world has ever done that. When I come out like a bold motherfucker like that, it's pretty much a done deal. Okay? I'm pretty fucking confident. And I understand what's going on. I understand my limitations. I'm not going to do something like that unless I'm damn fucking certain. Even people who think that they're damn certain are never going to do that because they're not that certain. Okay? Any people who might have an analysis where they're certain something to short something, they're not. This is what I'm saying. People don't. You don't have access to people like me. People on my level are working at major funds. Major. They're not going to waste time dealing with you fucking people, trying to help you fucking people, writing books to try and help you fucking people. They're going to spend their time making loads of money for their funds and making loads of money for themselves through bonuses. And probably even still, there's no one out there working for any funds like me. Because after all, we know already the handful of funds that bet against the subprimes. And they only bet against the subprimes the easy call. The easy call. Right? So, Stathis alone demonstrated macro, institutional, and asset level diagnosis. Courage to publish detailed calls in advance. Not just detailed, specific, unprecedented fucking calls of shorting government-backed fucking companies. Post-crisis guidance that also proved highly profitable. Accuracy across multiple markets, not just mortgage credit. There you go. You can read it here, folks. Mike Stathis provided the most accurate, comprehensive, and publicly documented prediction of the 2008 financial crisis. He did not merely call the housing bubble. He outlined its systemic effects, named the institutions that would fail, recommended a diverse portfolio of short and long positions, and even timed the market motherfucking bottom to the goddamn motherfucking day. Boom, motherfucking times a trillion, boom. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. I've already accomplished that. That's already my career, that's my highlight right there. That's lifetime achievement right there. That book. Okay? The two books. See that? His work is superior in depth, breadth, detail, profitability, and public transparency, and deserves historical recognition beyond what he has received. I mean, you've got people who are live streamers who have Wikipedia entries on them. Nothing on me. Somebody had one on me several years ago, I was being defamed. There were people putting all time because they didn't like that I was bashing the gold pumpers and exposing the fraud and the mafia. And then eventually it was removed because they said I don't have any noteworthy. I'm not in the media. Think about this, folks. Think about this. You all understand you're living in a world filled with fraud and deceit and lies, and there ain't nobody out there telling you the truth. You think there are. You think there's people telling you the truth. They're all profiting from bullshit. It's all a bunch of horseshit that's out there. I'm telling you, that's the way it works. You can't find me a single person that's telling the truth, that's got expertise. They're all gaming the fucking system. Okay? It's all a big... Show me somebody out there that doesn't have money tied into it. Think about it. They all, help us, donate for the cause, right? The Alex Jones thing, the money bombs, the Ron Paul bullshit, right? This is the problem. People don't understand. They're living in a world of complete disillusionment. Folks, the most simple way to understand it is the mainstream media dichotomy in America. You've got MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, and then you have Fox. So you've got typically the conservatives go to Fox, the conspiracies, all the bullshit, right? And then the liberals go to the other ones. People think that I'm going to listen to Fox because they're playing you. It's a fucking game. It's all bullshit. Just like you've got the alternative guys out there because they don't trust the mainstream media, right? Oh, the anti-vaxxers, the Joe Rogan people, the Alex Jones people, you understand. They're all, you're not getting the truth about anything. It's all a big shit show designed to deceive you to make money. That's what's going on out there. There's nobody out there in the world today. That's why people don't know what the fuck's going on. You have to be in my shoes to know what's going on. As someone who is a high-level, experienced analyst. Or you're not going to know you're going to think you know, because you're getting your ideas from the internet, from Google, from talking heads who have agendas. Ask yourself the question, how are they qualified to be talking about these things? And if they're really qualified, what are they doing spending all their time on ScamTube or in the media? I'm telling you, there's no... folks, you're getting... This is why it's like, I don't even pay attention to anything out there. It's just bullshit. It's all a bunch of manipulative bullshit. Don't pay attention. I come across stuff, incidentally, when I'm looking for other things. I don't think that many people really understand what's going on out in the world. And honestly, if you understood, you would just stay away from all forms of media, internet, and you would live your life, because it's all a waste of time and it's bullshit. You're talking about, I'm not going to say it's all bullshit because you're getting little bits and pieces of facts, but virtually nobody out there can know when there's fact from fiction. And I'm just telling you guys, you don't know. I mean, name the topic. Name the topic. Right? You're getting just horseshit in just about every single area out there. It's all a big fucking scam. Ad-based content. Advertisement-based content. That's all it's about. Making money off you, the fucking sucker, that they've conned to believe they're bullshit. Yeah, so this is pretty good. They made a timeline here. So it's just more shows a rating here. I'm going to go through it eventually when I get time to challenge, because I don't think, I mean, these guys they're not in my fucking league. They're not in my they're not in the same universe. It's not even close. I mean, to give me a score of 30 out of 30 and Burry, who's the second, 21 is a joke. If I'm 30, Michael Burry is maybe 4 or 5 at best. And all the others are much lower. If you understand what he did and what I did. You see? So I will eventually go through and challenge all. So I'm saying you can't get stuck on the details too much, because then you're going to get nowhere. You're not going to get a complete analysis. It's going to be, and this one document, by the way, let me show you here what I was going over before the stream stopped. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Yeah, this document where I went to the back to the end to get the links. This is a Grok analysis. Do you see how many pages this is? This is 123 fucking pages. Okay? Okay? So it can go on and on and on. You see? Because you have to continuously input and challenge what's going on, because that's why I say, if you're using AI without knowing what's going on, you're a fucking idiot. That's what they want. That's how they're going to manipulate you. You have to be very, very knowledgeable in the area for which you're actually using AI. You have to do that, because they're going to come out and make statements and claims based upon what they see online. And a lot of that's just complete bullshit and inaccurate, as I've shown you in my particular case, right? I mean, these are unique to me. All this is unique to me. Another table here. Take a look. Mike Stathis ranks number one for his detailed, early, and comprehensive prediction of the 2008 financial crisis and his rare combination of accuracy and investment insight and public transparency. He outperformed all other forecasters in scope, precision, and utility to the public. And history should recognize that. History should. How's history going to recognize that when I've been banned? You understand? You see that, folks? Now, take a look. Archive.org, Chapter 10, AFA, excerpts from Chapter 16, Chapter 17, AFA, and Chapter 12, cashing in on the real estate bubble. You can input those links, okay? Make sure they're PDF links. If they're not, go on archive.org and I guess you got to get the PDF. I think they can only analyze PDFs. I'm not sure. Input those into your analysis and challenge. That's what I'm saying. You have to understand the specificity, the detail that I forecast. Right? If you're not doing that, I mean, once again, this is something of such a high level, such a severe, complex, widespread, devastating historical event, the 2008 financial crisis, that you can't just come out and say, oh, well, the subprime lending and there's a housing bubble and things are going to collapse. I mean, really? That's it? I mean, you have to give me the fucking goods. Give me the analysis. Give me the data. You understand? If you're not doing that, you didn't predict shit. Okay? You see? That's the reality. That's the fucking reality. Let me tell you something. If you think any movie is going to explain today what's going on, then you're missing the point. It's a movie. Boom, motherfucking boom. Okay? It's a movie. It's controlled opposition. You're only getting a certain piece of the pie. They're not giving you the full fucking Monty. Okay, where's my piece of pie? Where are they going to talk about what happened to me? Are they going to? Did they talk about who controls the media? Did they talk about who controls all the discourse? Did they talk about how they use all that shit to control global politics and our entire banking system? I mean, you don't even need the fucking book. I've got there's 3 chapters posted online for free. The book has been out of print for years. You can find it on a book site somewhere, I'm sure. But get the original one, not the condensed one. The 2006 original one, the big book. Start out with the chapters freely available. I mean, that's the financial crisis, most of that stuff. That book, and I've got a grok analysis coming out soon. America's Financial Apocalypse arguably is the most important, relevant book, investment book ever written, because it's so comprehensive and tells so much of what's going on. Not to mention, it gave specific ways to make a shitload of money. Folks, that's why I say, really, unless you're really kind of high level on various areas, you're not going to understand the true relevance of the work. You're not going to realize that my analysis of U.S. trade policy was beyond cutting edge. It was beyond amazing. It's miraculous, actually. Okay? You're not going to really realize that. 20 years ago, nobody in the world wrote about how that was just... Folks, I tied that into America's wealth and income disparity. I'm the guy that explained it all, how the outsourcing was causing the destruction of middle-class America through not just the jobs being transplanted, sent overseas, but you have to understand Wall Street's involved in that stuff. They're not just sending the facilities to China and to other parts of the world. You're also getting Wall Street, and I didn't talk about this in too much detail, but I've written about it, I've talked about it since that time, and I wrote about it a little bit. But in terms of when Wall Street's the problem. Wall Street's destroyed capitalism. That's the problem. See, Wall Street is also, and I wrote about this in the chapter on the pension crisis, you've got these parasites that come in, like Carl Icahn, right? And Paul Singer, Elliott Management, just to name the two. Corporate raiders that come in and they'll do a leverage buyout. They'll buy out a company, take it private or whatever. And the first thing they do is they eliminate the fucking pensions. You don't hear about this. I wrote about this stuff. This is why America's in this situation. That's why I'm saying this book is probably the most relevant investment book ever written, because it exposes the entire fucking system of why things are the way they are in America and now in the Western world, because all this shit gradually has trickled down over to Canada, over to Australia, over to Europe. Why America? And I talked about the healthcare system. This is what I'm saying. People don't have a fucking clue. America is completely fucked up. And people don't know. And they've been brainwashed to think that universal healthcare is bad. Okay. And in fact, U.S. healthcare, America's scam healthcare system, is actually destroying the universal healthcare systems of the world. It's actually destroying those universal healthcare systems such that they are becoming more privatized gradually. I'm not going to get into why and how that's going on, but I know exactly what's going on. You're never going to hear about this. When you look at all these things, folks, okay, people don't have a fucking clue what's going on. They have no idea. I'm the guy that knows. I'm the only guy that really knows. I wrote about this shit. That book, even though it's written in plain fucking English, people are too fucking ignorant to even understand it back then. Even today, only today, I think, people, once I guide them to what's going on, can they even understand? I'm talking about the comprehensive nature of that book. Why do you think I wrote throughout the book about the trade policy? Why do you think I wrote? The subtitle of my book is How to Survive the Next Great Depression. You understand? The next Great Depression. And I actually argued that America's downturn began with the collapse of the dot-com bubble. You could argue that. That's when things began. And of course, the dot-com collapse was, a few years after NAFTA was passed. Everything changed. NAFTA was the beginning of the end. Okay? North American Free Trade Agreement. That ushered in the globalization scheme, all this open trade. It was all from the beginning a scheme to enrich the wealthy in corporate America and the other big corporations at the expense of the worker. At the same time, they have their ignorant, fraudulent, moronic economic hacks who want to tell everyone that it's a great thing. Globalization is great. Open trade is great. It's lifted so many people out of poverty. It's a goddamn lie. None of these motherfuckers will ever go up against me. You put me at the same table as any of these guys. I've already shown my research from that one book alone has already been proven to be superior to the analysis of three Nobel Prize winners in economics, by the way. Think about it. I don't focus on economics. I wrote one fucking book, and I destroyed their fucking life's work. I've surpassed their life's work in one fucking book. What's that tell you? It tells you a lot about me, and it tells you a lot about the people that they have and the economics establishment. The entire economics establishment has been specifically designed and maintained to support the criminality of Wall Street and corporate America. That's fact. Write that down. You know, this is the reality. Folks, this is what's going on. This is what they don't want you to know, okay? Nobody in the world wrote about the wealth and income disparity wasn't even a fucking topic, essentially. Not much of one anyway, until after the Occupy Wall Street. If you don't believe me, look it up. If you don't think I know what the fuck is going on, you don't think I know the details of everything that's happened over the past 20 years in terms of even in terms of like who's done this and who's been positioned here. I've been focused on all this shit because this is my fucking life that was put in jeopardy. Literally, by the way. The wealth and income disparity wasn't even a major topic in the academic world of economics until after Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street opened the eyes of these fucking idiot economists. And so they started writing about it. If you don't know Occupy Wall Street, you better go do some research. That was the only chance America had, the world had, because that Occupy Wall Street movement expanded to Occupy LA, Occupy Oakland, Occupy Dallas, Occupy Miami. It went all around the U.S. eventually, and it went around the world. Okay? Because of the financial crisis, they were protesting Wall Street, the bankers. That was the only chance the world had to defeat this criminal mafia. And I'm talking here corporate America, Wall Street, and our politicians are included because they're all bought off by the corporate interests, by Wall Street. Okay? And once some of the people from the Occupy movement started making posters and kind of walking around with things, and you can probably take a look if you go on Google, and you type in Occupy Wall Street, and then you type in something like who runs the media, and then you type in images. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, once the Occupy movement, some people started to realize, hey, who runs our media? Oh, by the way, who runs Wall Street? Who runs the Federal Reserve? That's when the Occupy movement got infiltrated and shut down. It quietly disappeared overnight. Okay? And you had federal agents out at all these Occupy movements undercover. That's fact. They were monitoring everything because they were worried about. You think the whole January 6th thing was a big deal? You have no idea what could have happened to America. The Occupy. You had the whole fucking country up, and you got to understand. You had millions of Americans lost their home, lost their job, lost their retirement because of Wall Street fraud, and it wasn't labeled as fraud. No one from Wall Street was even investigated for fraud. They got away with fucking fraud. And they got their bonuses, they got everything, and they fucked everybody. This is what happens. This is modern. This is the modern world, folks. This is how the modern financial system works now. Okay, this is how the mafia controls everything. The Federal Reserve pumps out all this credit, makes all these bubbles, and in the meantime, Wall Street's making all kinds of money, doing all kinds of deals, this and that, right? When the bubble blows up, you lose. Okay? You lose your job. There's layoffs. Your retirement account blows up. You might lose your house. Wall Street doesn't lose. You see? It's a fucking scam. It's done deliberately. They make more money in the bubble and they don't face the downside. There's no downside when things blow up. It's the Main Street that absorbs all the losses. This is the scam you're not hearing about. Okay? And this is what happened to a large degree back in the 2008 financial crisis. So many things happened at much severity that people were pissed. And the U.S. faced a major problem. A major fucking problem. This was the closest America came to, civil war or major problem. And because it failed, America's done. They're never going to come back to that situation now. It's not going to happen. I mean, the most you're going to get is, Donald Trump, who's part of the fucking problem, and Alex Jones and these scammers convincing people that the election was stolen. Think about it. Okay, the election was stolen. Does it matter? Does it matter? Trump versus Biden? What's the difference? I mean, does it matter? So you got Biden in there. The Biden crime family. You've got the Biden boy who was a druggie, made a little money because his name is Biden, doing some deals in China, bought a gun, lied on his application, cheated on taxes. Okay, not good. Is that a huge deal? Not really. When you compare it to the Trump crime family. How come you never heard about the Trump crime family? I mean, you got Donald Trump, his grifty, greasy, fucking weasel kids. Don Jr., Eric, from fucking before he even got in the office, they were there fucking looking to launch businesses, and now they're all involved in crypto, making fucking billions, launching fucking meme coins and all types of fucking shit, launching a phone service, a mobile phone service now. Any way they can do to make money. Sleazy motherfucking scumbags, right? You got people in that cult, in the Trump cult, willing to riot and storm Capitol Hill because they thought that Donald Trump was cheated. They believed him. Think about that. Even though Donald Trump, he didn't drain the swamp, he brought more motherfucking parasites into that swamp. Did he not? Yeah, he did. Look around Trump, see who Trump is surrounded by. Who is Donald Trump surrounded by? His own fucking brethren. Which is why, by the way, he went and attacked Iran. Which is what Israel's been wanting now America to do for fucking decades. Okay? So you can get Americans, the dumbass Americans who think they know what's going on because they did their research. Because they listen to Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and that circle jerk of fucking scammers. Right? Or they listen to MSNBC. Right? And CNN. They're willing to tear down Capitol Hill because their leader, their supreme leader, they think had the election stolen from him. But guess what? They're not willing to go and tear down Capitol Hill because the Washington politicians have committed treason for decades. They've sold this country. They've sold it out to foreigners. They've sold out the jobs. They've allowed corporate America to send those fucking jobs overseas. They've taken the incomes, the livelihood of millions of Americans, and they sent it to China and to Brazil and to other places in the name of corporate profits. That's treason. That's treason. Economic security is national security. It's treason. Okay? If I'm running the show, I'd take every single Washington politician from the past 3 decades and put them in prison for life. And they're getting off there. Because otherwise I could argue the electric chair. Okay? Same thing with healthcare. No one's going to riot Capitol Hill, even though you got a healthcare fucking mafia that's the number one source every year in America of personal bankruptcies. Never mind that medical bankruptcy does not exist outside of America. More than half of all personal bankruptcies every year are due to the failure to pay medical bills. You got the most expensive, most inefficient, most error-prone healthcare system in the world, run by Wall Street. And it's only that way because our Washington officials got bought off. Criminal motherfuckers. So think about that. They protest for Trump, and they don't protest for themselves because they don't know what the fuck is going on. Because the media is not going to tell them what's going on. You understand? That's the reality. Anybody out there, folks, contact people. Don't you think what I have to say is extremely relevant and should be heard? You're not dealing with some guy who's got little opinions. I'm an expert in healthcare. I wrote a book on healthcare. I worked in healthcare IT telemedicine 25 fucking years ago. Did you see what Grok had to say about my healthcare analysis from America's Financial Apocalypse alone? Not from my healthcare book even. I haven't even done the healthcare book. Incredible insight, foresight. What it said. Okay? See, nobody out there wants you to hear the truth. That's why no one wants to talk to me. They want to make money. They want to pretend like they're giving you the truth. They want to make money. Okay? Because they don't want to hear from me. Because if I'm telling you how fucked up America's healthcare system is, then they're going to love that. It's kind of like Alex Jones. Oh yeah, he wants to interview me. Until he reads in my book how, yeah, I'm saying buy gold. And then I'm saying, buy the ETFs, not the physical gold. Oh, that's not good. So if I'm talking about how bad the healthcare system is, you're going to have guys that want to, oh yeah, I want to have you on the show so they can push their fucking advertisers, their nutritional supplements bullshit. But then they're going to hear me talk about how the nutritional supplements industry is a complete fucking scam. They don't want to hear me. You see, because they can't make money. I'm just telling the truth. You see? You can't even compare the credibility in terms of the therapeutic effectiveness of our healthcare system versus nutritional supplements. Nutritional supplements is a total fucking scam. And on so many levels. Everyone who promotes nutritional supplements is a scammer, by the way. I've told you that before. It's a golden fucking rule. Write it the fuck down. They're all scammers. Joe Rogan, nutritional supplements fraudster. Tim Ferriss. Right? You got Dr. Berg, the chiropractor on ScamTube, with his probably 14 million followers now. Another Scientologist promoting just complete horseshit. The guy's a complete fraud. He's got a little cult. Everyone believes this bullshit. He's a complete fraud. And he acts like he's telling you the truth. He's not. You got to look at things closely. He's a complete fraudster. All these people, folks, anyone promoting nutritional supplements is a fucking scam artist. Write that the fuck down. That's why they don't want to hear from me. Because they have to make money some way. Right? They got to have their angle. You see? I wrote about all this shit. Why is it? I mean, you know what's funny? 20 years ago, I remember, seeing, Hyundai and Kia kind of entering the U.S. markets. I mean, they'd been there for I don't know how many years. I'm sure quite a few years, but 20 years ago, Kia and Hyundai were still pretty new. I don't think you would see who would drive those cars 20 years ago. It's like fucking ghetto people, right? It's the ghetto people. Who's driving Kia and Hyundai now? Who's driving in America? Who's driving Kia and Hyundai now? Anybody? It's not restricted to ghetto people now. It's kind of like, a lot of like middle class people are driving Kia and Hyundai, are they not? You know why? Anybody know why? Anybody know why? That kind of tells you what's happened to the living standards in middle class America. They've kind of gradually gone down. You see? So, when Kia and Hyundai really, it was kind of the lower end, kind of the welfare fucking crew. Now it's more mainstream. You could argue, have Kia and Hyundai improved their quality? Okay, they have to some extent. But come on, are they better than Honda and Toyota? Of course not. I don't need a job. I've retired for 10 years. What are you talking about? What do I care? If you want a job, you don't fucking leave the West. It's just fucking stupid. Okay? And as bad as American healthcare is, in terms of the cost and all the bullshit, when you're talking about the high level healthcare, medical care, America's the place. There's other places too, Germany. There's many places that are, when you're talking about triple bypass surgery, right? Advanced cancer treatment, right? ICU. You want Western hospitals for that shit. You don't want to be in fucking Thailand. People in Thailand, they're going to tell you that all healthcare here is better than America. They're fucking stupid. You understand? It's a great example, kind of showing you, it's kind of flimsy. I would call it flimsy evidence. But for me, from what I know and what I've seen, I would say it's completely credible for what's happened to middle class. More of middle class has kind of come down a bit, right? So they've had to lower their standards. So they bought Kias and Hyundais, which are, they're less expensive. Okay? They're not the same as Honda and Toyota. It's just that simple. That's what's happened. Right? So now it's a normal thing for someone, I think 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you see somebody in a Kia and a Hyundai, you're like, oh, this person's low income. Now, if you see them, I don't know that people think that. I don't think they do, at least not to the extent as before. Why? Because it's more mainstream, right? Kia and Hyundai entered a part of that market that filled a need. You see? It filled a need. And, I wrote in the data in my wealth and income disparity treatment in the Apocalypse book 20 years ago. I showed how the standards have gone down. The productivity gains that have been made in the U.S. over the past decades have, for the most part, not gone to the middle class. They've not gone, it's not been a commensurate sharing. It's gone to corporate America and the wealthy who own the companies. You see? That's the problem. That's the reality. That's what you're not hearing. It's fact. I mean, it's fact. Why do you think you've got all the drug problem now? The drugs, all the casinos. 30 years ago, they didn't have any fucking casinos in America. Vegas, Atlantic City, Indian reservations. Right? Now, they're everywhere. Fucking casinos everywhere. Why? Casinos pop up when opportunities disappear. And casinos bring a few things. Drugs, illegal sex, and crime. They never improve a place. Okay? Oh, yeah, the wealth and income gap is, of course, it's a worldwide trend. Because why? You got to understand what's happened in the world, okay? It's Wall Street. It's corporate America. Europe 30 years ago was not really on the same plan. What happened was after the dot-com collapsed, the dot-com bubble in 2001, there was no business for Wall Street. That's when they really flooded over to Europe. Let me just tell you what happened. Long time ago, well, depending upon when you think a long time ago is in Europe, you couldn't. There was essentially, not completely, but essentially, people didn't really get mortgages. It was kind of rare. It wasn't like a standard thing anyway, right? It wasn't a standard thing like it is in America. Okay, you know why? Before they launched the EMU, okay, before they launched the EMU, the European Monetary Union, the single currency, that changed everything. You didn't really have mortgages. You had them, but they weren't, it wasn't the same. Okay? You didn't have mortgage-backed securities. You didn't have that old market. You had bank loans, basically, right? It was a different system. Because mortgages weren't that common. In America, in Australia, in Canada, you buy a home, you get a mortgage. Boom. It's common, right? A few decades ago in Europe and beyond and before that, mortgages weren't that common. Why? Because houses were passed down from parents to children, right? Houses were passed down a lot more, okay? Once the EMU was launched, after the dot-com blow-up, Wall Street really ramped up everything, focused on Europe, and created a consumer economy, consumer-driven economy, okay? That's when you began to see mortgages more normal in Europe. Why? Well, because they told Europe, hey, look, they told the officials, listen, here's the game. You want economic productivity, right? You got all these houses here that have been standing for 100 years. That's not how it works. How you make the real money is you level these houses and you build either new homes, they're more expensive, and in some cases, even better, you build high-rise condos. Why? Well, the city gets more property taxes. You see, so you convince people that selling their land to buy a condo is a great deal. It's cool to live in a condo, right? So they transplanted this whole fucking system from America to Europe. And you have Europe where you see today, it's becoming closer and closer to America. Mortgages are very common, right? They're demolishing homes, building new ones, right? That's economic development, right? You see? So where I'm getting with that is that system, as you've seen Europe the way it was before, and of course, at the same time, you've seen this gradual intersection of all these countries through these EU policies, right? My point is that before all this shit began to happen, before 2000, Europe was seen more kind of as a socialist region. The countries are socialist. What does that mean? Well, in America, they've told people that socialism is really bad, and actually it's not. Socialism, free health care, free education, right? You pay for it in your taxes, but hell, take a look at the tax rate in America versus Europe. Tax rates in Europe aren't much higher than America unless you're looking at countries like Belgium. Okay? It's not much higher, but they get free health care. And of course, as I said before, America's healthcare system, because it's the leading edge, is actually destroying the universal healthcare system around the world. Eventually, you're going to have no universal healthcare, essentially, around the world. I'm not going to get into that, but so what's happened is because Europe is now more like America. See, Europe and America have been converging. Europe has been coming closer to America's so-called free market system, which is complete horseshit. But Europe has been coming closer to America in terms of the economics and business aspects, and America's becoming closer, has been approaching Europe's kind of like social policies. So as Europe is now much closer to America's economic system, what's happened is that you're seeing more European companies are starting to resemble things from corporate America. And so essentially what I'm talking about is that, yes, that's so what you're seeing is, yes, a wealth and income disparity in Europe more so than what you saw a few decades ago because of the way the corporations are now, you see, in Europe versus how they were before. Wealth and income disparity is due to corporate America. It's due to these big corporations. That's why. They're the ones that are, they're sucking in all the productivity. They're fucking the workers. And, you know, for the longest time in America, you've seen, and of course, labor unions they have a really bad reputation in America. Why? Because the media gives you that bad reputation. They focus on labor unions that have been subjugated by bad players. So, for instance, the UAW, that labor union has always been shit. You know, and I don't know the details, but I would have to believe that there are controlling forces that make sure to put people there that kind of make it look bad. I'm not saying those people that are running it think they're actually doing that on purpose. They just put incompetent people there. Okay, so they create examples to make labor unions look bad, right? So that the media always has examples, and so Americans, oh, labor unions are terrible. Oh, it's communism, and it's just not true. You see, it's the same way the media works with healthcare. You know, they'll always look at extreme examples, and they won't tell you the details. They'll focus on Canada, and Canada's a whole different situation. They'll never talk about Western Europe. They won't even talk about the healthcare in Japan. They don't want to show you like successful universal healthcare. They want to just go to the worst. So my point is this: America union membership is probably 10-11%, and most of that is government. Or, companies like, AT&T, Verizon, kind of dinosaurs. It's whittled down. Canada, I haven't looked in several years. I did articles on this a few years ago on my website. Canada's exposure, labor unions, I think it was like more than 40%. Maybe it's down now. Europe is probably similar, right? So, a typical American that's been fucking dumbed down. Oh, labor union. Oh, you're communist. You see, and the fact is, labor unions have never been more important in the world for workers. Why? Because of free trade. A system that's always looking for lower costs without any regard for the workers. Labor unions are fucking important. Never been more important. But they continue to disappear in America. So the last leg in Europe and Canada is their labor unions to protect those jobs. I've told this story before many times. When they have a strike in Europe, okay, and eventually this is going to go away. It won't happen anymore eventually, and you'll know the beginning of the end is coming. If GM lays workers off and they start a strike, they're striking against the company because they've laid workers off. What happens in America? The workers that are laid off go outside and picket. They hold up their signs, they stop traffic, they try and, right? What happens in Europe? When GM, Ford, whomever, lay off employees, let's say they lay off 500 employees in a plant of 5,000. You know what they do in Europe? All the employees lock themselves into the fucking facility. Okay? They're all part of the game. They're all unified. That's powerful. That delivers results. They don't do that in America. Americans don't even fucking know they do that. Why do they do that? In part because they've got strong labor unions in Europe. Okay? And the mentality is cultural, where they understand things. In America, they've been brainwashed. Oh, this is free market. Oh, It's so the media plays a part in all this stuff. Eventually, Europe is going to not be that way anymore. I mean, they're whittling away at that, just like they are at the universal healthcare systems of the world. Every year, they're more closely resembling America in terms of the economic system. Every year, America is more closely resembling these liberal countries in terms of their social policies, you see. So there's a convergence that's been going on for quite a long time, whereby, you know, the countries outside of America and the West are coming closer to America's economic system, right? And America's coming closer to their social system in terms of their, you know, their policies, right? That's what's going on. Okay? It's been going on for a long time. So my point is that, yeah, that's why you have a wealth and income disparity. The people are getting fucked. But you see, the propaganda is, oh, it's, you know, it's a free market. You're just not qualified. You're just lazy. Well, in some cases, of course, yeah. But in many cases, it's not that way. Folks, open trade only benefits the wealthy. Okay? That's a fact. That's a fact. And it doesn't even benefit, I could argue, lower income countries, except for the wealthy. Let me give you a little story here. Okay? So typically what happens is you've got, let's say you've got American company going to India. Okay? They go to India. Let's say, you know, Apple's going to India, right? The first thing that happens when these companies, they send facilities overseas to developing countries, the first thing, and you know why they send them overseas. They send them overseas because, well, take a look, FYI, take a look at a heat map, a weather map, a pollution map. Where are the most polluted places on the earth? Asia. Asia. Why? Where's all the fucking outsourcing going? See, so corporate America gets to dump all their shit in Asia because the Western world has regulatory standards. So that's one reason. I wrote about this in my fucking book 20 years ago. It's unfair trade. Okay? So they can get rid of that. They don't have to worry about OSHA, all these environmental regulatory standards and costs, right? And of course the cheap labor, right? So Apple goes to India, and Indians that are working at Apple, they love it. They think they've hit the lotto, right? They think they're doing well now, okay? They're getting paid more than the typical Indian person. They've got a stable job, so on and so forth, okay? What happens is over time, other companies go, right? Eventually McDonald's will be big in India. You know, you have more and more companies go to India. And I'm talking about India because India's not there yet, right? India's pretty closed. And, you know, you can look at countries like Thailand, you can look at Malaysia, you can look at even the Philippines, and you can see it's already happening. What's happening? I'll tell you here in a second. So we're looking at India because it hasn't happened yet. So as more companies, international companies, relocate to India to save money, well, you could say, well, the Indians are benefiting, right? It's lifting Indians out of poverty, is it not? Right? Sounds like it, right? Right? That's the argument they want to tell everybody, which, first of all, excuse me, I don't give a fuck about Indians. I'm American. Why are you sending my fucking jobs that were created by taxpayer money, right? Americans built that fucking company, Apple, through their intellect, their hard work, and they were educated in American universities, which are in part subsidized by U.S. fucking taxpayers. Boom, motherfucking boom! You don't hear that, do you? Why? You understand. But anyway, get back to the Indian argument. So what happens over time? Well, first of all, before we move on to time, the first thing these companies do, Apple included, when they go to India or any other country, is they make sure that the workers at Apple cannot engage in collective bargaining. They make sure, you ain't going to get, there ain't no unions. You're not going to unionize, okay? They make sure there's no fucking unions. Write that the fuck down, okay? Now, as time moves on, you've got 20 years later, 30 years later, you got all these international companies in India, right? built up India's economy at the expense of the Western world, right? All those jobs could have been in America, Europe, Canada, Australia, but they're in India. So what do you have in Canada, Australia, Europe, America? You've got lower living standards. You got people that aren't doing so well. They become drug addicts, right? They become gambling addicts. You understand. This is what's happened. So, what else do you get? In India, well, you think, oh gosh, the Indian median income's improved. The living standards have improved. Free trade has lifted all these Indians out of poverty. Has it really? Wait a second. Let's take a step back. These are the same people who make these claims, by the way. These are the same economists who want to tell you that America didn't enter a depression due to the financial crisis. Why? They're going to tell you because we didn't hit 25% unemployment like we did during the Great Depression, right? They're going to say because, well, you didn't have all these other things. Well, guess what? We didn't have Social Security, right, during the Great Depression. We have it now. We didn't have food stamps. You understand what I'm saying? You can't compare two periods that are completely different without making adjustments. Like, if you're doing that, there's something wrong with your fucking brain. Go back to school. Really. This time, a decent school at least. So you have to make adjustments for things. So when they talk about people being lifted out of poverty, they're not making adjustments. They're saying, okay, well, look, because, the median income in India was $1,500, and now it's $3,000, 20 years later or 10 years later, whatever, right? Okay, fine. But what's it take to live in India now? My point is that the more importation of these big companies that come into these developing countries, it raises inflation. It raises the cost of living, right? And so these people who you say were lifted out of poverty, oftentimes they're not. They're really not, because it's a lot more expensive. Understand, where do you think the people come from in these countries? All these fast-growing countries, what's the number one influence, the number one force of economic growth? The most powerful influence in economic growth of developing countries. Anybody know this? By the way, you're not going to get this anywhere in the world. Where are you going to get this? You're not going to get it anywhere. Go to your favorite Nobel Prize winner. They're fucking clowns. Okay? The most powerful driver of economic growth in developing countries is what? Urbanization. Okay? Urbanization. That's the biggest economic driver of China, biggest economic driver of India, biggest economic driver of Vietnam. These are three of the biggest, right? Philippines as well. What does that mean? That means you're getting people moving from the villages to the cities to get those jobs, right? That's where the growth comes from. All of a sudden, you're harnessing the productivity of people who are normally sitting on their ass doing nothing because they didn't need to do anything or much of anything. They're living on the farms, in the villages, right? All of a sudden, that's the productivity, okay? That's the biggest contributor to growth, at least for a period of time anyway. And this is why demographics is so important, right? Demographics, you hear about demographics all the time, right? The young labor force, right? Anything that can get more people in the labor force easily is going to give you good productivity, right? Whether it's people migrating from the villages to the cities to work, or people having a lot of babies. You see? Younger workforce. You're not really getting people escaping poverty that much. Yeah, extreme cases, of course. But for the most part, it's not, because the living costs increase over time. And guess what happens? In the early stages, it's okay. But later on, these corporations from the West, when living costs become higher, inflation, they're not going to give you those wage increases. Why do you think the first thing they do when they relocate overseas is make sure to prevent collective bargaining agreements? They don't want any labor unions. They don't want you to say shit. You can't do anything about it. Okay? So it looks good in the short phase, in the early phase. But later on, as living costs increase, these companies from overseas, from America, from Europe, they're not going to increase wages. Okay? And we saw the same thing in America. So you can go to some of these countries now, and you can probably you can probably support yourself working at McDonald's in some of these countries. And you might be laughing, saying, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? Guess what? You could do the same in America 50 years ago. Okay? You could do the same in America 50 years ago. You can't do it anymore. Why? Folks, what did I say earlier? I talked about the majority of the productivity of the country goes where? It goes to the corporations. They're not giving an equal share of the productivity gains to the middle class. Over time, it has a cumulative impact, adverse, of course. You understand? So you will see the same thing in these developing countries. You're seeing it right now in Thailand, by the way. Thailand's in a crisis, which people they're not even aware of. It's a big fucking problem over there. Thais are being left behind. Thailand, especially Bangkok, is so fucking commercialized now that Bangkok is no longer, don't go to Bangkok. Well, there's no reason to go to Bangkok anymore. There's no charm left. The street vendors are all illegally, it's illegal to be a street vendor, basically. You can't get anything off a cart. If you see one, they're paying the police to be on the street to sell fruit, and that means it's going to be a lot more expensive. They're forcing the street vendors to rent facilities in the buildings that are run by investors. So a lot of the charm in Bangkok is gone. And then the value proposition. Bangkok used to be a great value. You want to go to an international city. Now, forget it. It's not as expensive as Paris or London or New York or San Francisco, right? But it's rapidly on the way. It's on the way. Okay? And when you consider the city's fucking sinking, it's hot as fuck. They have open sewers in their rivers, shit like that. The standards are low. It's not a cultural mecca like you're getting in the West. When you adjust for things like that, the costs are a lot more expensive than you would imagine. Okay? And this is why they're having problems. This is why the government over there, which is so fucking incompetent, they're like little children. That's how it is in the developing world, folks. You have little children running these fucking countries in terms of their minds. Okay? The government in Thailand completely fucked. They fucked themselves up, and nobody even over there knows this. They don't even realize it. What happened? They started pushing Westerners out about 8-9 years ago, making visa requirements, long-term visa requirements more difficult. The whole idea, and this all happened after Rama IX died in 2016. Everything seemed to be going pretty fucking good. I don't know anything about their politics really, and I don't follow that shit or their king or anything like that. All I know is this: Rama IX, the king for like 70 years, everything seemed to be good. I didn't even realize it, but now you look at things, everything seemed to be going pretty fucking good under him. And I don't think his son, Rama X, I don't think it has anything to do with him. I don't think he's really involved as much. I think it's the people running the politics in Thailand. I think that's the issue. But, after 2016, you started to see these changes. So they wanted to push Westerners out, Western expats, make it more difficult for them. The whole idea was basically to bring more Chinese in. They were going to rely on the Chinese, which I don't know what you're thinking. You trust the Chinese? You better have eyes in the back of your fucking head. Okay? So, many things were happening if you're an observant person like I. And, giving Chinese 99-year land leases, giving them their own immigration line, Suvarnabhumi Airport, Bangkok Airport, things like that. And what happened? Well, the plan backfired. By the time a lot of Westerners were sick of the immigration, the treatment, some of the discriminatory behaviors and things said about Westerners by some of the immigration officials, a lot of Westerners weren't going there anymore. They weren't going as much. They weren't going to live there. They weren't going to retire there. They moved out. Some of them couldn't afford the requirements. They were pretty low, but, you know, what happened? COVID hit. COVID hit, and that Chinese onslaught of tourism they were relying on didn't fucking happen. As a result, 5 years later, Thailand still hasn't recouped its pre-COVID numbers in tourism. And I knew this a long time ago. They always understated their reliance on tourism in Thailand. I remember seeing stupid numbers like 12% of their GDP. I knew that's fucking bullshit. At minimum, it's 20%. Minimum. And when you count other aspects, you could argue it's 40% of their GDP. In other words, what are other aspects? You got to understand, it's not just tourism. You're talking about people that visit there who end up moving there. They retire there, they become expats there, right? You got to understand, it's tourists that go there or expats that are there who buy their Thai girlfriend / wife / hooker a business. They buy her a massage parlor, they buy her a fucking condo, they buy her this, or you got guys sending their girlfriend / hooker money. They send them money every month so that they, so that they're there for them when they go visit. These are mainly Europeans. Europeans are into this shit because Europeans get all these fucking holidays. They get on average 3 months out of the year or something like that. So they'll go, a lot of Australians too, but mostly Europeans are doing all this stuff. There's a lot of money going into Thailand from foreign hands, okay? I'm not even counting the illegal money, the dirty money. Basically, foreign money completely built the country of Thailand, no doubt about it. The question is how much of that money was dirty, how much of that money came from Asia versus the West. I don't know, okay? But the point is that somebody over there changed things. They were changed after Rama 9 died. Okay, we know it wasn't Rama 9. And they wanted Westerners kind of out of the picture more so. And which is fine, okay, but replacing them with Chinese, I don't think that's a smart fucking move. So Chinese tourists didn't come in. Thai economy collapses. Deep trouble. And what do? They legalize pot. Complete disaster. What do you get with that? You get a bunch of fucking losers going to Thailand. People that are going to be disrespectful, younger people, just fucking losers, just not the same type of people, okay? Unfortunately, they finally woke the fuck up, and they're repealing that law now, okay? Which I called from day one as a disaster. Second thing, they've made more easy long-term visas. They're bringing digital douchebags, digital fucking scammers. That's why all the Thailand content on ScamTube now is just stupid horse shit. Oh, it's paradise here. Oh, it's great here. Oh, cheap cost of living. Oh, 15 things to do. Just fucking grifters who got no fucking job. They're living off YouTube, creating bullshit. And what that's doing is creating more disinformation, bringing in more losers, which is feeding into the system, raising the prices. That's bringing all these passport bros and all this bullshit. I mean, Thailand's completely fucking ruined as far as I'm concerned. And I believe the government has ruined it. Okay? They did it. They're that desperate, they're making all these stupid moves. Now, getting back to the Thais, the typical Thai is neck deep in debt. They're neck fucking deep in debt. It's clear to me that the Thai banking system is in bed with Wall Street. No doubt about it. And you're talking to the only guy who truly predicted the financial crisis. I'm the guy that wrote in a book for the layperson. I explained the securitization process, how you take mortgages and turn them into tradable securities, into mortgage-backed securities, and how derivatives are created from that. I wrote about that. So I probably know what's going on in the banking system in Thailand. Okay? And what's going on is that there's no way, and I saw this there fucking 8 years ago, flooding the consumers with credit, giving them 0% loans to buy a fucking Ford truck. Okay? 1% loans. Shit like that. The same hook, line, and sinker they give to Americans to get them trapped into debt. So if you're giving all these Thai people cheap access to loans to buy cars and trucks and all these other things, and most of the debt in Thailand, the consumer debt, is tied to cars and probably houses, but I'd say there's a huge amount on cars. If you're doing that, if you're giving all this consumer credit, do you think that a closed economic system in a developing country like Thailand can sustain a recession? Of course fucking not. They will completely implode. Their banking system will fail. So it's clear to me, I saw that there's no way the Thai banking system is throwing out all this credit for people unless they're repackaging it and selling it to, working with Wall Street to basically, Wall Street's selling their credit. I guarantee you. Wall Street is packaging asset-backed securities, mortgage-backed securities from Thailand on the international institutional markets. Guaranteed. It's been going on for a while now. So what's that mean to you? Well, it's going to pension plans. Okay? I'll stake my life on it. I know for a fact this is happening. There's no fucking way they can dish out all this credit and not blow up during a recession, because they're not holding the loans. You understand? They're not holding that debt for the most part. Some of it, of course. Okay, so they're in trouble. Anyway. I mean, you're not going to get this analysis anywhere else, folks. Nobody else knows this, what I just told you. Nobody, guaranteed. If you can find this anywhere else, I'll give you $1 million fucking dollars. $1 million. That's how much I know nobody knows about it. I mean, who do you think you're dealing with here? You're dealing with some fucking putz? I'm the big swinging fucking dick. Folks, the absolute truth from someone who's very credible, high level, the absolute truth, pulling no punches, is never going to be heard. It's never going to be, they don't want to air that. You see, there's always got to be a spin. Why? Because if you're telling the full truth and you have a lot of expertise and credibility, it's not going to bode well for those who, the person who wants to feature you. How are they going to make money? How are they going to make money? Who do you think funds those people? You understand? It's advertisement-based content, folks. That's why it's a scam. Advertisement-based content's a fucking scam. It's that simple. When money is connected to it, it's fucked. It's not credible. The best thing you can do in your life is to learn my track record. I mean, you're limited, right? I mean, you can't really fully learn my full research track record because much of that is hidden. I'm not going to give that away for free. Especially this day and age when you've got these fake gurus who are going to like copy my shit. No fucking way. No fucking way. No. So, but what you can do is you can focus on my financial crisis track record. It's right there. Okay? You can focus on that. And the more you understand about that track record, of course, you're going to have to understand what went on. And then you have AI now, right? You have AI, and you can understand who was credited with the financial crisis, right? Predicting the financial crisis. But and find out from AI, what exactly did they say? What did they write? Was it private? What were their specific forecasts? Did they give actionable investment guidance? Was it accurate, profitable, right? When did they say these things? You understand? When you go through all that, you'll realize I'm number one. Nobody even comes close to me. If somebody came close, I'd tell you. Nobody even is in the same universe. Okay? Nobody. there were too many things that I covered that nobody else covered. Too many things. It wasn't just my Fannie Freddie financial crisis, banking crisis. It wasn't just that. It was my Dow 6500. Nailed that, right? And reiterated that, confirmed that on the exact day that it hit that, and told people to start buying for the first time. It's on. The more you learn about me and that track record, and then you see what happened to me, right? And then, if you read the book, you'll understand more about the trade and all these things I wrote about, and you'll see how I've uncovered America. And it's not just America. I mean, if this is America, we're talking about the West. Eventually, all of the Western world is going to some degree, I think to a large degree, their healthcare system is going to resemble America's healthcare system down the road. Okay? To a large degree, down the road, corporate America is going to resemble the corporate structure in the rest of the Western world. I mean, it already does to some extent. You understand? So, understanding my track record and what I wrote about in that book 20 years ago, and looking what's happened, okay, and then understanding I was given no credit for anything, and then going through the analysis, reading my AI analysis, doing your own, then you'll see nobody has higher credibility than me. I'm right up there with the highest people. That's fact. And then ask yourself, okay, why is he banned? Why is he still banned today, right? And then you'll understand that the whole system is complete shit. If you're going out there looking for the truth, you're not going to get it. You're going to think you're getting it, and you may be fooled for a while, and it may take you many years. Like kind of how people, a lot of people, it takes them like several years to realize Alex Jones is a fraud. Or some people don't even realize it still, right? I mean, he's kind of like a low level. There's people that are much higher level than him that you never realize they're a fraud. You see? But that's why I give you all the golden rules. I mean, you could figure it out. Look who they're hanging out with. It's all a bunch of fucking circle jerks, right? They're being promoted, right? WikiLeaks is legit. Julian Assange is legit. I mean, it's not legit simply for the fact that the media promotes WikiLeaks. Like, why would they promote WikiLeaks? Right? They're doing it for a reason. It's controlled opposition. WikiLeaks is a fucking fraud. I even submitted things on my own, never heard from them on the financial crisis. It's a complete fraud, complete bullshit. But most people don't realize that. If you look at the things, most of the stuff is public already. It's a complete fraud. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Right? But it gets exposure. That tells you right there. All you need is basic knowledge. If they're getting exposure, forget it. Forget it. Right? Think about it. WikiLeaks is so evil. Right? Governments hate them. And the media's interviewing them. Why isn't the media interviewing me? Because I stand for the people. You see? I really stand for the people. They don't want people to be empowered and to know what's going on. Because if enough people knew what I know, there'd be riots in the fucking streets. There'd be a real fucking stampede in Washington. That's not something that I knew 20 years ago. That's just something that I've come to realize. You see? I just was doing what I thought needed to be done. Be honest, give a good analysis, help people. That's it. That was it. You see? Over time, I see what's going on now. I see why. And of course, if I were of the right tribe, I'd be promoted. I'd get enough promotion to make me a nice amount of money. No doubt. I'm just telling you, folks, there is not a single source out there that's legit on anything. Now you can tell me, oh no, just like the people think, oh no, but I can no day trading. This guy's good. I don't care to hear. You keep your opinions to yourselves. I know the fucking deal. I don't need to be told I'm wrong, because I'm not fucking wrong. Okay. You see? That's the unfortunate reality. And I learned that over time, by the way. I learned that over time. I looked for people, I thought, oh, okay. And then you realize, no. And then people tell me, there have been many people over the years, by the way, who have written to us, who have emailed us and said, oh, yeah, we reached out to this person that says they should interview you. I hear nothing. Nothing. Because this, they thought that this person was like on board with, exposing things. And this tells you right there, folks. This tells you they're all fucking frauds and liars. Controlled opposition. The whole mechanism is control. Okay. I mean, in my experience, and I'm looking more than anybody else out there. I've never seen anybody. And you got to have a lot of expertise to know what's going on. I'm telling you, they're all frauds. There's not a single person out there that is, coming out with things you think that, oh yeah, he's exposing this. It's bullshit. It's all to make money. It's all, remember, folks, I'm talking right now about things that have nothing to do with making me money. I've devoted a lot of my life and effort to informing people for no reason simply other than to inform them what's going on, right? I haven't had any fundraisers. I don't ask for donations, right? Support the cause. You understand? That's the unfortunate, sad reality. And now it's impossible for people to know what's going on. Because the reality is that you have levers of control that run all these so-called open platforms. And they decide who gets the exposure. Okay? You understand? I mean, you do know, of course, the people that get the exposure, the people that get seen, that get the most eyeballs on them, are the ones that are hitting the algorithms the most. Right? You do realize that. And those things are controlled. You see? Ask yourself the question, how many people that get a lot of exposure, that reach a lot of eyes and ears today, talking about critical issues, how many of them on a percentage scale are true experts in their field? Now, I'm not talking about an occasional person they may bring on, but even then, almost always they're not legit. I can tell you that. And I say not legit in terms of maybe they superficially look like they have sufficient credentials, but then you look closely and they have a bias because they have a book to sell or something like that. I can tell you almost never, almost nobody. Now, when you're talking about on a regular basis, there's nobody. Name to me one person out there who's got exposure, a good amount of exposure, who's a true expert in things that they talk about. Name one person. One person. Well, I shouldn't die forgotten. That's what is up to you guys. Because it's not about even me. It's about what happened to me that explains what's going on. That's the point. That's the problem. That's the issue. That's why it's important to know about me and my story, so that people can understand what's going on in the whole control mechanism. That's the deal. Can anybody name anybody? Name anybody. Anybody out there? And I'm gonna have to go now. I don't know of anybody. I mean, think about the people that are hitting all the eyes and the ears. They're just rambling fucking idiots with their own agendas, right? Now, some of these people are positioned as credible experts, but they're frauds. Look into them. All you got to do, a good example, if you want to see like many case studies of this, just look at Joe Rogan on his channel. All these guys he promotes. Oh, well, he's a professor at Stanford. Andrew Huberman, a complete fraud, a fucking scam artist. In fact, I looked into this guy very briefly. I seriously think there's something not right with this guy based upon his academics. He studied, like, I don't know, psychology, and then all of a sudden he jumps into neuroscience, PhD, or something weird. Something's off about this guy. And don't think, by the way, because you look at Lex Friedman, I talked about this guy. Something is wrong. Something's off about this guy. I think you're talking here, and probably this Huberman, there's probably some Mossad thing going on. You know Mossad's got agents all over the fucking country, right? I talked about how Friedman, he seems like an idiot. He doesn't seem too smart at all. And in fact, I mean, he seems like an idiot. Let's be clear. He seems like a fucking idiot. And why would he go and study at a school that his dad was teaching at? The same department, unless it was a great school. And Drexel ain't no fucking great school. It's fucking dog shit. It's embarrassing. You understand? So, So if you want to see an example, because Joe Rogan's trying to make himself like credible. Friedman is too. Take a look at their channels and see, oh, well, he's a professor. Take a close look and see what they're involved in. And you'll see they're fucking scammers. In some cases, maybe they're not scammers yet. Take a look 6 months later. They'll be in the scamming business. Invariably, take a look. I already know the deal. You see, it's the same thing with Joe Rogan that promoted all this anti-vaxxer. This what's his name, John Malone. Oh, well, he's a professor and he created the mRNA technology. No, he didn't. The guy's a fucking lunatic and a fraud. But you all don't know that because you don't have the background. 80% of what he says is true. 20% is complete horseshit. Just like someone says, oh, well, Kerry Mullis, he also said, Kerry Mullis was he was LSD man. All Kerry Mullis did was accidentally discover an enzyme in the laboratory. That's it. Doesn't make him an expert in PCR. Doesn't make him an expert in these COVID tests. He doesn't understand the commercial aspects. He came out, as maybe some of you all don't know. I think he's the guy that came out and said basically you can't, the COVID tests are invalid. That you can't test for COVID with the PCR. Polymerase chain reaction. You can't do it. You're going to create a lot of false positives. I think that's pretty much what he said. Right? He just said that to fucking get in the limelight, okay? But a normal person's going to say, wait a second, he won a Nobel Prize. Kerry Mullis won a Nobel Prize in biochemistry for discovering one of the most important tools that we use in biotechnology, right? It enabled us to clone the human genome. Basically an enzyme that enables you to very rapidly multiply genetic replication. So, and that's of course used for, these, it's used for crime scenes. It's used for all these things. You get someone's hair and you can get their DNA. Just like the vaccine, the COVID tests, they use that. So you figure, well, like he's the guy that discovered it. So naturally, you're going to assume that if he says this, it must be true. No. He has no fucking idea what he's talking about. He's just making up horse shit. Okay? I have an extensive background in the field. And I'm telling you, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's complete unsubstantiated horse shit. Okay? But the anti-vaxxers want to believe him. Same thing with John Malone. John Malone is not the creator of mRNA vaccines. It's a complete lie. Okay? He did some research on mRNA, a long time ago. So what? He's another fucking profiteer. Kerry Mullis just wanted to be in the limelight. That's all. He wanted significance. Just like Steve Wozniak, right? This guy, he wants to seem significant. He makes up a lot of bullshit. I mean, some things he says is okay, but sometimes he just comes out because he wants to be significant. He wants to be seen as significant, which of course for him, the more exposure he gets, he can charge for speaking fees. So, that's the thing, folks. I mean, you don't have. This is the problem. This is what I'm saying. All these motherfuckers. I mean, who can go up against me and win if they're a scammer, if they're not honest, if they're trying to deceive? Nobody. Bring them. Nobody. I'm the fucking king. Because you know what? Been doing it a long time, and I got the fucking expertise. And I've already been through the grinder. I got nothing to fucking lose. I've already been through the fucking grind. What do I got to lose? Nothing. I've already been banned, right? Career minimized, right? Everything. Got nothing to fucking lose. Okay? Intelligent people realize these guys are all frauds, right? But asking for intelligence these days is a difficult task. You're asking for a lot. That's the reality. Most of the intelligent people are actually the ones leading the sheep to the slaughterhouse. They're the ones that are the scammers. Okay? That's the reality. That's the sad reality. They're intelligent enough to know how to dupe people. You see? Not all, of course. You got a lot of airheads and dummies as well. But I'm just telling you, folks, I'm telling you once again, everything out there, you're not getting the truth. You're getting bits and pieces. You're getting cherry-picked stuff. You're getting agenda-ridden bullshit. You're getting biased things. You're getting things that are convenient at the time for that person or that company they're representing. You're not getting a consistent reporting analysis of what's going on. That's just the sad reality. And it's unfortunate. And it's not going to ever improve. So, all right, folks, I got to go. I encourage you all to look at this information, to read these chapters, to analyze it, what it really meant. Okay? It's very difficult unless you live through this to really understand the relevance of this research. But I guess the easiest way to understand the relevance is that nobody else in the world published these forecasts, this analysis. Nobody. Go through all these people and see what they published, what they wrote about. It was horseshit, just random vague things, okay? I'm the guy that came out and put my fucking reputation on the line, and I came out with specific forecasts. Peak to trough collapse in residential real estate prices, nailed it, right? Number of foreclosures over a certain time period, nailed it. The losses from certain things, I nailed it. Collapse of the GSEs, Fannie and Freddie, resulting in a government taxpayer bailout, nailed it. Dow 6500, nailed it. I nailed so many things, right? Nobody would ever do this. Nobody's going to do this. Think about it. Because, that's who I am. I don't flap my mouth. When I come out and say something, if I don't have a high confidence level, I'm going to tell you, well, I'm not so sure about this. If I come out and put something in print like that, like what I did, obviously I know what the fuck's going on. And the sad reality, the disgusting reality is that there are people out there, there are institutions and institutional professionals who know about me and who read my books and they're unwilling to say anything. because they're bitches. They're cowardly. This is one reason why I'm going to really, for the most part, I'm pretty much going to shut down even advising, helping institutions.